Well, despite speaking out against the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion, the federal NDP leader is hopeful there are votes to be won here in the heart of Canada's energy sector. Jagmeet Singh is spending his weekend in our province, and we're pleased to welcome him for the first time to Alberta Primetime. Mr. Singh, what do you all have planned for your weekend here in Alberta?
Well, we've got some events planned today, and then we're going to be heading out to meet with our candidates in Calgary and then our candidates in Edmonton, with some public events and some more intimate events with some of our volunteers and supporters.
Well, I want to dig into some of those Alberta issues. You've come out as an opponent to the Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion. Even earlier this year, you issued a statement sharing your deep disappointment in the National Energy Board for recommending an approval of this project. I guess, how do you plan to still find support among Albertans?
Well, I've made clear that I'm concerned about the environmental and Indigenous community concerns, but I'm really concerned about the fact that workers in this province continue to face a lot of difficulty through no fault of their own. I remember visiting Alberta before politics, almost a decade ago, a little bit longer, and I remember speaking with folks here who said they went through bust and boom times, and I think it's really unfair to workers that they have got to go through times when things are going really well, and then they can't predict, but all of a sudden, because of international markets, things go really difficultly, and there's a bust. I really believe in making sure workers are protected and supported, so working families can count on policies that I have that will lift people up. We've got a universal plan for medication coverage for all, head-to-toe healthcare coverage, particularly given Premier Kenney's healthcare cuts. This is going to help people out, help families out. And we've got lots of plans in place to make sure we create jobs in communities that are more resilient jobs that won't be subject to the whims of international markets.
Well, keeping with the construction on TMS, it's scheduled to restart within the month. I guess, would an NDP government immediately put a stop to further work on this project, though?
Yeah, we've made our position clear on the Trans Mountain project, but we'd make sure we work really hard to make sure workers have a good opportunity. I know there's a lot of oil sand workers. I met one just recently in Calgary Airport who told me that he was worried about the future, but he said, you know, this isn't new, that his parents also had worked in the oil sands and they were worried about the future back when they were his age. There's an ongoing uncertainty, and I really want to make sure that workers know that with a new Democrat working for you, you'll have someone who understands that workers need to have predictability. Families want to know that they're going to have a good job in the future, that they can take care of their family and their kids. And they don't want to have this uncertainty in the future. And I know that we can build a more certain future by making investments in communities. We want to build 500,000 new affordable homes. That's going to create jobs in communities. We want to retrofit homes and buildings. That's going to create jobs in communities. You can't outsource retrofits. They have to happen in communities. So we've got a plan to make sure people have work, have good jobs, and they also have the supports they need, like the healthcare coverage that covers them when they're in need.
Well, your party is entering the campaign with one seat here in Alberta, but you will be losing Linda Duncan after 11 years as MP for Edmonton Strathcona. How much of your effort is going into retaining that seat specifically?
Well, we're working really hard. We've got Heather McPherson, who's an incredible candidate, really well known, someone that's worked with Linda in the past and has Linda's full support, so they'll be working together. And she's got a really strong track record of fighting for communities, making sure the concerns of people are heard, and she's got a strong voice that's going to make sure that people know that they've got someone that's going to go to Ottawa and make sure the concerns of Alberta are heard.
There was some tension, though, with your provincial counterpart, Rachel Notley, in regards to your stance on TMX. I guess, has she indicated that you will have her support in this election?
Well, I got to be really clear. Premier Notley was an incredible premier. She's an incredible leader. She worked hard to make life better for Albertans. People got a sense of what you get when you get a new Democratic government. Someone who's going to defend healthcare, someone who's going to help students out by freezing tuition fees, help farm workers out, someone who helped young workers and those who are marginalized with an increase to minimum wage. Someone really put people first and fought hard for her country and for her province. I want to say, though, that Alberta and New Democrats took a different position on Trans Mountain, and I respect that. I have a position that I took at the federal level, but we share so much in common, and the main focus being how do we help workers out, how do we help families out.
Well, in recent days, controversy has dogged the two frontrunners in this federal campaign. First, the damning ethics report for the Prime Minister on the SNC-Lavalin scandal. Now, that 14-year-old video of Andrew Scheer expressing opposition to same-sex marriage. How do you capitalize on all that and change the channel to have the focus on your party?
Well, with respect to Mr. Trudeau, one of the things I really want to point out, for me, the scandal is really more about whose priority he's been working for, whose side he's on. It's shown again and again, not just this one example, but through multiple examples, he's been working for those at the very top. So whether it's pharmaceutical companies and not actually reducing the cost of medication like he promised to, or in this case, working for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, helping them not face the criminal allegations they're faced with, his priority seems to be those who are at the very top, making their life easier and making it harder for really everyone else. That's not right. And with Mr. Scheer, you get a lot of the same thing. The Conservative government has done the same thing. They've worked to make life easier for multimillionaires, but not making life easier for working families. In fact, making it harder for them. And then with this recent video that's been leaked, this is an ongoing pattern of behavior. He didn't attend any of the prides this year, and it shows that he's not willing to stand up for those communities that are marginalized. He doesn't really believe that people should be who they are, they can love who they love. And I think that's very troubling. With the New Democrat, I want you to know, with me as leader, you get someone who's on your side, who's going to fight to stand up to the big pharmaceutical companies and bring in universal medication coverage for all. We're not going to cave in if big telecom says, you can't bring in your plans to reduce cell phone fees. We're going to say, yeah, we need to reduce cell phone fees because we're paying some of the highest prices in the world. We're going to stand up for people and consistently represent those who need to have a strong voice.
Well, you came out this week in explaining that if there is a minority government and you could hold the balance of power, that you wouldn't support the Conservatives in light of Scheer's stance on that same-sex marriage, as you were mentioning. But would you prop up the Liberals?
Well, we made it really clear that we would not support the Conservatives on a number of issues when it comes to our pharmacare plan. They voted against this plan consistently. They've never said that they would support our plan to expand healthcare. That's something really important to me. I remember what it's like to rely on the healthcare system. When my father was very ill, we relied on a publicly funded rehab center that saved his life. And I know so many families can't get the care they need, and we've got to make those investments, and I'm committed to doing that. It's clear the Conservatives won't. They voted against those measures. So there's someone I'm absolutely saying we cannot support. Moving forward, if any other parties support our initiatives to make sure we bring in that better healthcare system that families need, including dental care. For so many families, they can't afford dental care. We would look at working with those parties who want to help us bring in that type of expansion. Parties that want to work with us to build the new homes that we want to see so that people have affordable homes across this country. People who want to see us make those investments to create jobs in communities, we'd be open to discussions with working with them.
Well, speaking of some of the other parties, how concerned are you about losing votes potentially to Elizabeth May and her Green Party as they continue to gain support?
I'm not really concerned. I'm really concerned about their lack of concern around workers. In their most recent environmental plan, they neglected to mention workers at all. And it shows that they're not really concerned about what people are going through. For us, we're a working class party. We're a party dedicated to fighting for people and putting people at the heart of what we do. That's why we've come forward with plans that say our EI needs to be reimagined. We have to make our EI easier to access for workers, allow them opportunities for better training opportunities. If someone wants to go back for retraining, wants to go to get an apprenticeship, wants to go and take a course, there should be an opportunity to access EI to support them and their families while they're getting that training. We're really focused on working people, and that's something that sets us apart. We're also focused on fairness for people in general, and that's why our healthcare plan is something that sets us apart.
I want to touch on a personal note. Now, earlier this year, you released your memoir, Love and Courage, a book where you bravely told your story of sexual abuse as a child. What's the response been like?
It's been pretty incredible. For me, I told that story because I had an opportunity to share something, and I knew that there would be people that would be paying attention. I thought, what could I share that would help people out? And I thought about the struggles that I went through when my family was going through my father's addiction, when we fell into deep debt and we lost our home, when I, as a young kid, was a survivor of sexual violence. All these things were things where I went through it alone. I didn't really have anyone to speak to. And I thought in my book, if I could let people know that it's not your fault and you're not alone, that this could help some people out. And I'm really hoping that that's what's happening. And from the response I'm getting, which has been incredible and overwhelming, I'm hoping that there has been a positive impact.
On a final note, the campaign is fast approaching. We're within weeks now of the writ being dropped. Will we see you back in our province before October 21st?
Oh, that's a plan. I would love to be back. It's going to be a whirlwind of activities, and things are going to be changing on the fly as things develop. So I'd love to be back again.
And hopefully back on Alberta Primetime potentially?
Hey, that'd be amazing.
All right.
If you'll have me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today, Mr. Singh.
Thank you.
That is a federal NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh.